I see Christy fixed her hair.
All right, we're broadcasting, we're going live. Attendees are starting to join, but it looks like we have just another minute, Wade. So if we just sit tight for a minute, let the attendees
Absolutely.
start to join, that'd be great.
All right, thanks, Christy.
All right, Wade, it's 7:30. If you'd like to start the meeting, feel free.
Okay, great. Christy, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Wade Frick. I'm the chair of the Village of Chagrin Falls Board of Zoning Appeals. You are joining us tonight for our October 27th, 2020 meeting. I hate to say these are almost becoming the norm, but this is probably fourth or fifth month, at least, I think, of meeting this way. And thanks to Christy and others in the village, these meetings seem to run pretty smoothly. So we appreciate everyone being with us tonight. We will maintain the same kind of informal formality that we do in person. We generate a record of our meetings. We will have minutes that are prepared. I will ask if people start speaking, if you can identify yourself by name and just remind us when that voice comes in who's speaking. That would be very helpful. If you've never been to a BZA meeting, we run them as follows. We have tonight 4 applications before us. We actually had 5, but we feared that would take us well into the late hours of the night. So we moved one of the applications off until a couple weeks with the approval of the applicant. So we have 4 applications. We take them in the order that they are filed. The way we'll do it is I will ask Rob Jameson to give us the background of the matter and how it got to be before us. I'll then turn to the applicant and ask the applicant to make a presentation in support of their application. The board can and will ask questions of the applicant throughout. Once we've finished that component, we will then turn it to the audience. I want to make sure anyone and everyone who has joined us tonight has an opportunity to speak and to be heard. Generally, we ask for people who would like to speak in favor of the application to speak first, to direct any thoughts or questions directly to the board and not to the applicant. And then we'll also turn it over for comment of those who may be out there who are in opposition to the application. And again, we ask the comments be directed to us. And then from there, we will take a motion. It's always in the affirmative and vote yes or no to that application. We don't have any minutes to approve tonight, so we're going to jump right into to our agenda. What we'll do is we'll have our law director, Dale, swear witnesses by application at the outset, I think is how Dale, or at least before each person testifies, is how Dale likes to do it. So without further ado, and you see Rob and Christy, I don't know I guess it's Rob who is sharing the screen. So the applicant, we should have all your documentation in front of us, and the applicant can kind of guide Rob through what documents you want us to see as you're speaking. So all that being said, again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We'll begin. Our first application is that of Stephanie Steinhoff. 103 Walnut Street. Rob, could you give us just a quick background on why this matter is before us?
Sure. 103 Walnut Street, permanent parcel number 932-05047. This is in the R150 zoning district. This is a proposed addition to the rear of the house. There is two variances before you tonight. The first is to section 1145-02B. A non-conforming building may be altered, modernized, or enlarged, provided that the alterations conform to all the yard regulations and setbacks. The current house is non-conforming in that its rear yard is only at 15 foot when 30 foot is the requirement. So it's half of the required rear yard. The second variance is 1125-03H. The rear yard setback requiring the 30-foot yard rear yard setback. 15 foot is existing. With the new addition, the new rear yard setback would be 2 foot to the rear property line. This is 28 feet under the 30-foot requirement. This project was on this project will be on the Architectural Board of Review agenda for the November 3rd meeting for consideration of preliminary approval. And the only other item that we might need further information on is the distance from the structure, including the roof overhang, to the rear lot line, because the building code variance may be needed depending on how the exact design comes into play. And that's an overview, and I can bring up the plans.
Okay, great. Thanks, Rob. Dale, would you like to begin swearing in witnesses, please?
Sure. Whoever's going to speak first, if you'd raise your hand in the chat, let Christy know, and then we can get your voice and your visual on the screen.
See one attendee, David Payne. I'll move you to become a panelist. Stephanie, I see you online. I'm going to unmute you, so you're welcome. I'll invite you as a panelist. Yep, super. Coming on over. Michael.
Who's going to speak first? Will it be David or?
Yes, pardon me. Good
Okay.
evening.
David, let me swear you in. If you'd raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Payne. I'm from Payne & Payne Renovations. I'm here this evening on behalf of Taylor and Stephanie Steinhoff, along with Michael Cato, and requesting the two variances necessary to support the Steinhoffs in their project. So I want to tell you a little bit about how we got to this point. So the home is currently 15 feet between the rear of the building to the rear property line. We're proposing a 13-foot addition off the back of the home in order to allow the Steinhoffs to expand their home. Taylor and Stephanie have 3 young children. They've been living in this home for a number of years and enjoyed it quite a bit. They did kind of quickly evaluate what it might be like living outside the village. After doing some exploration, they've concluded that they really love living in the village, and they're hopeful that with this addition that we can make the modifications to their home necessary so that they can, with their family of 5, better live in the home. So currently, like I said, the home's 15 feet from the rear property line. We do have a large side yard between this home at 103 Walnut Street and the neighboring home at 107 Walnut Street. We did initially evaluate whether or not that might be an opportunity. Right now, that with the porch in the back of the home, between the house and the back of the property, is a very small area, and they really enjoy using this side yard as a play area for their children. So that maintaining that side yard was important to them. Additionally, if we were to do an addition on the side, we'd be getting very close to the neighboring driveway and property. So that was a consideration. But really the primary obstacle, if we're able to go to any of the floor plans, is the actual floor plan itself currently. If we go to, thank you, whoever's navigating this.
That's me.
That's Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
So I'll start at the beginning. I've got this kind of the elevation views and then floor plan views.
Sure. So if we look at this floor plan view here, where Rob's got his cursor, that's the first floor. About where the note is, it says 48-inch bench, and where you see the note, new 12-inch drop steel beam. From that note to the rear, it'd be the proposed addition. From that note to the front, to the bottom of the page would be the existing home. And the current plan bottleneck that we have with any other addition other than the side is that that stair element on the right side of the home kind of blocks any expansion to the right of the home. There's only about 9 feet or so between the back of that stair and the back wall of the home. So we did briefly look at how it might work if we went to the right, and just with the stair bottleneck and how kind of clunky the floor plan would go, we decided to target this addition here. So essentially what we're doing is adding on to the back of the home, and it's currently a 3-story home. So they have the lower level living area, 3 bedrooms on the second floor, and then kind of an open loft on the 3rd floor. So with this proposed design, what we're able to do is maintain an open floor plan on the 1st floor. It's very clean economically in terms of plan on the 2nd floor for how the master suite will be expanded, and it's very intuitive as well on the 3rd floor. So this works really well from that perspective. We believe that this is the least visually impactful addition in terms of adding on to the home and with respect to the neighboring property owners. That won't be a material visual impairment for the neighbor who is at 23 Maple Street or the one next door at 107 Maple. It's my understanding that the homeowners at 23 Maple Street forwarded an email to Harry Edwards in support of a variance. I don't know with the Chagrin Falls Board of Appeals if an email is permissible in terms of support, but I did want to comment on that. Additionally, I believe that we have probably the project is most impactful to the property owner to the rear of this home who lives at 104 Franklin Street. It's my understanding that they're also in support of the variance and may be participating this evening as well on this call. And then Michael Cato's here too. Michael, please let me know if you feel I've missed anything that's material to the presentation.
I think you caught everything, Dave. I don't know if the aerial photo is in this presentation where we showed this Stephanie's lot. Is the aerial photo in that presentation? But if you look at the aerial photo of this lot with the neighboring homes, you'll see that this house is much smaller than the homes around it. So we're not like overbuilding for the lot. The homes around it have a larger footprint. There was a direct aerial straight down view that I thought we submitted as part of this, because it was a very telling sort of image that showed the various houses around it. And as you can see just in the top photo on the screen here, we're kind of backing up to the neighbor's garage, which is behind us. So it's not like it's their house right there. And I think that the beauty of this addition is that we are maintaining the look of it. I love the simplicity of this one gable being stretched out. It's a very unique sort of style house for Chagrin Falls, given the details.
Yeah, I agree that in the aerial shot, it would well evidence that there's a certain rhythm of home size and proximity to property lines on this particular block. Then our requested variance, in my opinion, would be in keeping with that current rhythm.
Rob, is there another? I see there are two more slides. Is there another aerial shot that might show more of the neighborhood?
Hey, wait, can I intercede here for a minute? We forgot to have Mr. Cato sworn in.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me swear him in. Okay, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you already gave and will give before the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I blurted in there.
Dave, we got an
There it is.
aerial shot.
So this is,
I just wanted to see if we could pull it up. So
there
It's right-
wasn't
this is good.
an additional aerial shot in the submission, but this is the county property map, and this clearly shows the properties. The one with the orange dot is.
This is perfect. So you can see their lot is smaller than the ones around them, and the houses, you could just see by the roof shapes, the houses around them are larger than theirs. Like the one immediately at the bottom of the screen here is way longer than Stephanie's house. The one just above on the top of theirs, at the top of the screen, because I don't know how to do the directions otherwise, is much larger footprint. So we're the smallest house on this block. We're just adding that sort of extra 9 feet or so of space. and we're still maintaining the charm of the existing architecture.
So, how many square feet is the existing building, and then you're upping it at what's the up amount? You know, how much are you adding? Because I've done some rough math. I think you're adding about 572 square feet, bringing your total to like 1,800. 1,828.5, I think was what my math said.
Based on the numbers you just shared, I don't off the top of my head. I think the home is roughly 1,300 square feet, and we're adding roughly 500-ish to it. So I would, without cross-referencing your numbers, that sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, because sometimes it's hard to get an idea of, how big is the original house, and then how much are we adding, and how big is it really going to be? And 1,800 square feet is not huge.
So
It's not for 5 family members.
And then another question I do have is, how far is the edge of the garage off the property line at the current moment? It looks like it might be about 3 or 4 feet.
That would be that's on the site plan that was in the submission. I
yes,
apologize,
yeah, I'm
Rob.
looking that up right now for you.
Oh, I see it now. I think it's 3.1 feet.
Yes, it's
Okay.
3.1
3
feet.
foot. The existing garage is 3 foot from the property line.
Mm.
Yeah,
Like,
if you could,
2 feet with the new building, with the addition.
Will be 2 feet with the new structure, yes.
yeah,
And you can see we're right up against the neighbor's garage, which is immediately to the right in the screenshot here that you're looking at.
Right.
That's
I
their
think
garage.
I was just gonna mention, I think it's the building that's being extended in the back is facing another building,
Mhm.
not open space. So that's space that lot doesn't see anyway. Because keep that side yard that's on the bottom of this picture that you have up is staying all the way back, correct?
Correct.
there's a rear porch on the back of the home there now that would be removed. So it's about 8 or 9 feet additive to the current rear porch. I measured on the auditor's site. If the addition's approved, it'll still be over 100 feet to the neighbor off of Franklin Street from house to house.
Oh, yeah.
Before the board jumps in with more questions, David and Michael, did you have more in your presentation, or are we up to open mic night right now?
I don't have anything else to add. Dave, do
Nothing
you?
further.
Or
Thank you.
Stephanie?
If you said this, I apologize, I missed it. What exactly is going to be in the addition? What the addition is for what? What specific type of rooms and space?
Sure. So on the first floor, we're not actually adding much in the way of rooms other than some mudroom, pantry, some storage and utility area. Really what we're doing is expanding the current spaces. So in what is now a very small kitchen, we will be, maybe 9 foot by 8 feet or so. So we're going to go to a larger kitchen with a larger living area, a larger dining area on the first floor. On the second floor, we're going to be adding another full master bath. Currently it's 3 bedrooms with 1 shared bath. So we're essentially going to be adding a full master bath and expanding one of the bedrooms to make it more, instead of just a small bedroom, more of an owner's suite. The third floor is currently just an open loft. We're going to be adding a full bath in that as well. So, and I believe an additional bedroom on the third floor, additional play area for the kids. There is a basement on this home, but it's a somewhat typical Chagrin Falls basement that's perforated with columns in different spots over its history. It's a functional for storage and mechanical equipment, but not for living areas. So that third floor space will be kind of the flexible utility space for the children to play, a bedroom, and that sort of thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa Kramer, did you say what the expansion of square footage is from the current to the proposed?
It's about 500 square feet.
Oh,
My math
addition.
put it about 572 square feet
Okay.
more.
Currently I believe it's right at about 1,300. So it's adding about 570 more.
Okay.
Thank you, Andrew.
Oh,
Other questions from the board? No other questions? Okay, Linda, can you, I don't know why I'm calling you Linda. Christy, can you please see if there are members of the audience? I don't know if we can distinguish pro and con people, but you can at least throw this open to see who's out there who'd like to join to speak.
Do you want to only invite those speaking for the project or against the project?
Yeah, I guess if we can, yeah, we can do that since everyone can hear. So why don't we have anyone who would like to speak in favor and support of the application, raise your hand, and Linda will let you. Linda,
You can call me Linda. It's fine. I know you're talking to me.
Christy, can you do the notes too so that I can see Linda? I just get the one name. Christy will raise your hand, and Christy will allow you in if you are in favor of the application and out there in cyberspace.
I am promoting 3 people. to
Okay.
panelists, 4 people to panelists. We have a lot of folks in support of this project.
All right. So you'll just choose one at a time, and before each person speaks, we'll have Dale swear them in.
Carrie, you were invited first. Could you state your name for the record?
Carrie Rosenthal Edmonds. I live at 104 South Franklin. So I'm the property
Carrie,
directly
wait.
behind.
Carrie, hang on, let me swear you in.
Okay.
If you'd raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Carrie, your floor is yours.
So I'm the house directly behind at 104 South Franklin. So my garage backs up. Yes, right there. The only concern I have would be drainage to the back property. Just by adding that, that's my one concern. But other
Okay.
than that, I'm all for it. I mean, they're great neighbors. I have a only child and we play with them all the time. So it's nice. And they use
Okay,
my
good.
yard, which is perfectly fine.
All right, great. Well, thank you. How about to the applicant, to the presenters, thoughts on drainage?
Yes, absolutely. So, we have one of the critical things that we do whenever we do an addition is waterproof the basement and make sure that we've got an intentional plan for water management. So we will be collecting the additional downspout, the roof water and downspouts, connecting it to the storm. We will have to establish a very modest swale between the back of this home and the property line so that we don't have any water that is draining towards the property at 104 Franklin Street. So we will not change the way water would flow on the surface with doing this project.
Right.
And Rob, can you speak to the village oversight of that drainage?
Obviously, a site plan will have to be, submitted and reviewed by our engineer, the grading plan for the site. And we'll take a look at those drainage issues to make sure they're in conformance with our code, and that they're installed correctly.
Hey, Wade, this is Harry. If I could just chime in. I'll go back and check the records, but I know when they built the garage for 104 South Franklin Street, there's a storm sewer that goes right through the property and may go right through 103 Walnut Street that ties into the public storm sewer on Walnut. But I don't have that information in front of me. We'll look into it.
It's right in front of the garage. There's a drain right there.
Okay, great.
I think that's what you're talking about. I don't know. We didn't build the garage, so.
Correct.
I was going to ask, there's on a relatively small lot, we're now going to have a fair amount of hardscaping and, roof. Has there been any consideration in adding like a drain to this remaining brick patio or anything that's going to be, that's going to be left there?
I see. Looking at the patio now, if I was answering that right now, I'd be making up the answer. So I don't know.
There hasn't been any consideration about that. Okay.
No. So, but I would tell you, we're always mindful of water management on our projects because we're out there. We want to do it once. We don't want to be bad neighbors. So commit to being cognizant of that and making sure our plan considers it accordingly.
There was also an issue with the potential additional variance that might be required here relative to the fact that it's within 3 feet of a lot line. Was that something that needed to be discussed tonight?
It's something we discovered late in the game here after we were preparing for the ARB meeting. There's a potential building code variance that would be needed for the distance from the structure, including any overhangs for the roof to the property line in the back. And I believe that, as stated here under Building Code 133901, that no portion of the structure can be less than 3 foot from the property line. And I think this is 2 foot. So I think we are going to need an additional variance for that. I don't know if you, we didn't have that on the notice because we just
Right.
identified that issue, recently.
David, is there an overhang as well?
Yeah, there's a existing on the reverse gable off of the third floor. There's a 12 to 16 inch overhang of the roof that returns back.
But
So
only
that
on
would
the
be-
third floor, not on the first floor?
Correct. The only overhang on the back of the home would be at the very top level of the roof. So there's a decorative belt board at the gable end, but it's flush with the wall of
And
the
is
home.
and that's the only reason there would need to be another variance is for what's on that third floor?
Well, I think the entire addition comes to 2 foot within
Oh, okay.
within the property line, so they would need,
So they're gonna need to come back?
that would be, unless Dale rules otherwise, I think that's what we might need to do here.
Well, that's
Can we not
it's a,
consider it now?
it's a building code variance that you
It's
just
usually a
got.
building code variance.
Yeah,
If
it's what you got jurisdiction for last month, if you recall.
Yes,
We added that. Yeah, nobody has gotten notice of it.
right,
And I wouldn't want to have you grant it.
Sure. without
And
notice.
nobody has noticed, and then somebody appeals that, and then they're stuck waiting.
Right,
This wouldn't slow them down to move forward with their, ARB plans and to then come back to you in the following month for that variance.
May I make a comment on this? Usually it's a building code issue where if you're less than 3 feet to a property line, it's usually a fire code issue. We do a ton of work down in the city of Cleveland where they also maintain 3 feet as a minimum. But a lot of times we're at 2 feet. And usually what we do is we do a fire rated drywall on the inside wall of anything that's within that 3 feet would be a fire rated drywall on the inside. And we also do like a fire rated drywall on the outside under the sheathing so that if there's a fire inside the house, it doesn't go through the wall to the neighboring property and vice versa. If the neighbor's garage, let's say, catches on fire, it doesn't burn through the back from the exterior of their house. So usually we could just handle that with fire rated drywall. It works in the Heights, downtown Cleveland. It just requires you have a fire rated barrier there if you're under that 3 foot rule.
Mitigate the risk, right?
Dale or Rob, I don't know. Can we stick them on the Solar Lane agenda for the building code, or is that not enough time for notice?
Let me take a
No.
look. Hold on.
What's the night? That's the
That's 11th of November.
11.
11th, so we need 15 days.
15 days, yeah.
We might be able to if we send the notices tomorrow.
Yeah, we just make it.
I mean, if that works for them, I mean, we're already meeting.
We'd be grateful for any consideration that you can provide us, but we understand either way.
okay.
All right,
However,
well, the main thing is we can't resolve that tonight.
Right.
Right.
Could we pass a motion in advance of the notice, pending notice and any further, shall I say, arguments or presentations thereof? And
No.
then on the 11th, we can just finish it out without all the presentation?
no. Because you're denying people the opportunity to hear the evidence now. You just can't do it. It's a denial of due process.
Denied.
Okay, all right, well,
That's why Dale gets the big bucks.
let's go back to Christie then. Christie, others who are waiting to speak on behalf of the application.
Thank you, Carrie. If there are others that are in attendance, I'm trying to find others that I'm not sure if there are others, are you able to raise your hand as a panelist?
Yeah, Christy, this is Richard Veros. I raised my hand and I think I'm joined in here.
Thank you, you are. If
Thank
you
you.
could allow Dale to swear you in before you
Sure.
speak.
You betcha.
Okay, Richard, can you raise your right hand do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
You bet. And just for those not familiar, I'm on the neighboring property owner on 107 Walnut Street. So just next door to Stephanie and Taylor. And very obviously, I'm very much in support of what David and Michael outlined here today. I think it's terrific. I think I'm grateful that Stephanie and Taylor, want to invest in this community and want to stay in this community with their kids. And I'm very much in support of everything that they've got here going on with this addition. And it's tremendously in the spirit of what we want to be doing here. So just wanted to voice that, as I am probably the closest neighbor right next door to them. And not only being terrific neighbors, but I think it just would enhance the neighborhood tremendously.
Great, Richard. Thank you very much.
You betcha.
We love to hear happy, positive feedback like that.
You bet.
Christy, anybody else out there? This is again in favor of, before we see if there's anyone who would like to say anything potentially in opposition.
Hi, this is Jason Friedman.
Jason, okay, welcome. Dale, can you swear in Jason, please?
I'm not sure this is the Jason Friedman we know. He's got this beard that I don't remember, but if you'd raise your right hand, Jason, I'll swear you in. But we got to get him back on the screen.
He's back.
Okay. No,
Hi.
Lisa. Okay. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
All right, Jason, floor is yours.
Thank you. It was very kind of the Steinhoffs to share their plan. I live across the street at 110 Walnut Street. We've had a lot of activity, as I think everyone in the village knows, with construction. It's been nice to see continued improvement and investment in these properties. I think I agree with Mr. Veros. This is a great addition and to the neighborhood, and would improve their home and certainly make it more similar to the neighboring properties in terms of size and its presence. And so I want to just express my support for the proposed plan. And although I'm not as close as 107 or even 104 Franklin, I do see this from my home, and I just think it's great that they want to invest and stay in the neighborhood.
Great. Jason, thank you very much. Really appreciate your comments.
Pleasure.
Christy, anybody else who would like to speak in favor of the application?
May I speak, Christy? Will you swear me in, Dale?
And we also have Susan Junker that has her hand raised, willing to speak as well. But
Okay.
Stephanie, go ahead first.
Sure. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thanks. I just wanted to say thank you. Obviously, I'm Stephanie Steinhoff, the homeowner, and wanted to say thanks for your consideration and for your efforts in the matter. And obviously, I wanted to speak on behalf of our project in hopes that we can stay in the village. We love where we are in our neighborhood, obviously, and our neighbors. We're very thankful for the space and hope to make it just a little more livable for us. So yeah, so thanks for the consideration.
Great. All right. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yep.
Christy, anyone else?
Looks like we have one more. Susan,
Good.
if you want to turn your screen on and unmute.
Okay. She ready?
Yep. Hey guys.
Yes.
I got kicked out of, I'm going into my other, so I can see what's going on. Susan, could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
And hey, everybody, I'll keep it brief. I know there's a lot of support in the neighborhood, but I just wanted to also express that we appreciate the Steinhoffs wanting to invest in their property, and certainly think that what they're proposing to do is in keeping with the rhythm of the houses already in the neighborhood, and in keeping with the essential character of the neighborhood. So, and also appreciation to the architects. I like that the back isn't kind of an afterthought. I like that they're trying to finish it just like the front is. So looks great.
Great. Thank you, Susan. Christy, anybody else who would like to speak in favor?
I do not see any other hands raised.
Okay, and anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Is there anyone out there?
Attendees, I'll look for hands raised to indicate that you'd like to speak in opposition of the project.
And at this stage, if there's, I would invite anybody. If there's anybody left who has not spoken yet, you're welcome to raise your hand at this point.
I don't see any hands raised from further attendees.
Okay. Final call, any attendees? Let's make one last pass. Christy, make sure.
I think we're clear, Wade.
Okay, board, any additional comment or question that you have? Lisa, I see you feverishly taking notes. Does that mean you're the motion person?
Sure.
Thank you.
I move that we.
Oh, sorry.
Ready?
I thought Jim was doing it, Lisa. Sorry.
Oh, I didn't know. Is it okay if I do it, Jim?
I won't argue, but that's fine. I took notes for nothing then.
Oh, man. I move that we approve the variances requested at 103 Walnut Street with respect to 114502B, the non-conforming building, and 112503H setback requirement. The requirement for the 114502B is a 30-foot setback that's required. The building is already at a 15-foot setback from the rear yard. And then with respect to 112503H, it will require a 28-foot variance when you look at the 30-foot that's required for non-conforming buildings. With respect to this project, it sounds as if it's something that will enhance the usability of the house and make it more utilitarian for the owners. It's going from a 1,300+ square foot property to an 1,800 square foot property. So it's essentially a 500 and some square foot addition. It will yield a reasonable return, but in terms of the Duncan factors, but in terms of usability for this family and the way in which they want to use the property, the addition is something that will enhance its rate of return. I do think it's a substantial variance, and I think the homeowner acknowledges that, but it's largely due to the fact that we were already looking at a non-conforming use that was substantially in the rear yard. So it's almost inevitable that any variance for an addition here would be of a substantial nature. The essential character of the neighborhood is not going to be altered. I think the aerial views of this construction and where it sits in relation to the existing structures around it indicates that it's in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. The variance would not have adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. The property owner probably knew that they had a fairly landlocked structure when they purchased the property, but has made an attempt to figure out a way to stay in the village and enhance the property. And I think the neighbors have indicated through their testimony that that's something that's positive for the neighborhood. The predicament really can't be feasibly alleviated by any other means. The builders have testified that they looked at trying to add on the other side of the property, but the configuration made it challenging to do that. And the spirit and intent of the zoning code would be observed, and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. And these are self-created circumstances in the sense that the family grew but not in the sense that they wanted to continue to live and be and enhance the value of the property that they're living in and contribute to the neighborhood by adding a structure that would be appropriate for their neighborhood. So for those reasons, I move that we approve the variances requested at 103 Walnut Street.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there a second?
Second.
Jim Holdren with a second. Roll call then, Rob, please.
Freshman Johnson,
I approve the variance for the reasons stated in the motion. I'd also like to mention that the placement, even though this variance is substantial, comparative on a number scale, and we do a lot of ratios and percentages, the way that this lot aligns with the other houses on the street, and in this particular area where the houses converge, there is no impact to anybody's line of sight or openness. It will back up against a building, and the builder has clearly showed precautions that they will be taking to address any risk issues for fire or other water contributions in those areas.
Frick,
I would vote aye as well for the reasons stated in the motion, as well as what Rachel just said, as well as the fact I agree that the variances being sought are substantial. But to me, one of the most compelling aspects of this is I believe the essential character of the neighborhood will be enhanced, as evidenced by the multiple people who testified in favor of this. So I would vote aye.
Holdren,
I vote aye for all the reasons stated.
Kramer,
Aye for the reasons stated.
Rocky,
Aye for all the reasons stated.
Okay, so what that means is council has 15 days to consider an appeal or a rehearing, if you will, of the matter. I never say never, but a 5-0 passing it would be pretty rare for council to consider that. So in 15 days, with that, you'll get word on day 15 or close there too from Rob. If there's no appeal, which means your variances have been granted, we will do everything we can to get the building variance. If we can get notice out, we'll try and include you in the special meeting we have on November 11 to try and expedite that as well. So 15 days, 15 days, hopefully we'll have the hearing as well on your building code, and then you'll get word from Rob if there's been no appeal made. Okay? Thank you very much. Congratulations. Good luck.
Bye, Cato. Bye, Payne. David. Nice to see you guys.
Okay. Moving right along now. Our second application is that of Vince Coley and Rebecca Robbins, 44 Bellevue Street. Rob, can you please give us the background on this application?
Sure. 44 Bellevue Street, permanent parcel number 932-15-017. This is also in the R150 zoning district. This is a proposed demolition of the current garage and construction of a new detached garage and driveway in a new location on the property. They're proposing to leave a section of the existing driveway in place of the shared driveway with their neighbor in place for use as a parking area. There's one variance that's before us tonight, and that's to section 1125-04B7 driveways that states the driveways that do not connect to a garage are prohibited. By demolishing the existing garage, a non-conforming driveway would result. This project went before the ABR on September 15th. The demolition of the existing garage was approved based on preliminary submission of the new attached garage and also based on the variance issues being resolved before us tonight. So on the map here, I have the plans up here. This is the existing garage right here. The shaded area is the existing driveway, and you can see how that merges with the neighbor's driveway to go out to Bellevue Street, with the new garage being constructed here on the property. The new driveway will exit out onto Bradley Street. And then you can see the section of the driveway here that would remain, what they're proposing to have remain and use as a parking area.
Rob, at one time there was a fence issue on this property, but that's no longer before us?
That's correct. The applicant stated that they would be resubmitting for compliant fences that meet our code.
Okay, so the only issue is the garage, is the driveway.
Yes, correct.
Can I ask an interesting question before we get rolling? Why do we need a variance for this? Because it does still attach, it's a shared driveway, it splits the property line, and it does still attach to a garage. So I'm just a little unsure.
It doesn't connect to a garage on the property where it's located.
Yeah, it's just
That's
not
how
their
the zoning
garage.
code reads.
I mean, but it looks like the driveway, I mean, as far as I can tell from the maps and everything, splits the property line. And so it does attach to a garage. So okay.
I mean, you can interpret, you can consider that in granting the variance. I just know in looking at, in doing this through the zoning code, the driveway has to connect to a garage on the property in which it's located.
So could I ask a clarifying question? The shaded portion is an existing driveway that's going to be eliminated?
That's the section that's going to be removed.
Okay, and that's going to be, great. What's that going to be?
Become lawn, I guess. The applicant can better explain that.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure just the lawn.
And things, green space.
Green space.
okay, thank you.
Okay, we're up to the presentation, and it looks like that might be George. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, Dale, do your thing, please.
Sure. George, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Hey, George, floor is yours.
Well, you stole my thunder by pointing out that the part of the driveway that we're leaving there really does serve a purpose. And the neighboring house has a little porch, their side entry porch with steps going down toward the rear. It's that little bump on the house. And it is, as shown on our site plan there, 6.7 feet from the property line. So there's really not, without them actually doing a reconstruction of their house, not a way for the neighbors to, and that, there it is, right?
Mm.
Not a way for the neighbors to get around on their property line, excuse me, on their property without use of the existing garage. And that is obviously consideration for us. So we're moving the existing garage, or tearing it down and building one actually closer to the rear of the property. We're eliminating a comparable amount of driveway to the new shorter driveway that's off Bradley Street. And we're leaving an amount of garage, and I think it will be a convenience, occasional parking spot for the Coleys as well. But it's actually does serve this essential purpose of getting the neighbor to their garage. So that, I think, the variance is really for not doing something. And however, the thing, the demolition of that driveway wouldn't be a neutral act. It would really negatively impact the neighbor. We don't want to do that. It's also going to remain a convenient parking spot for the Coleys, but I don't, I think it really has, it doesn't, I believe it conforms to the intent and spirit of the code, and I do not believe it constitutes a significant variance. And I can further describe the project if you'd like. This is really the part we're talking about. There is a new pool. That's part of why that garage is moving. It really helps them gather all the back activity of their yard into the an area where it can be very collected, and everyone can kind of use that backyard together.
Well, I'll just blurt something. I don't know if this is a question, George, or if you can address it, but it raises a unique question in my mind. It's not it's not a practical difficulty for the property owner unless they're trying to be neighborly with their neighbor, I guess, right? I mean, this doesn't really add anything to the applicant's property, other than, as you mentioned, a possible parking spot, which we generally don't have a lot of in the village and front yards. So I wrestle, I guess, just thinking out loud of the practical difficulty for the applicant. But again, I guess it could be argued the practical difficulty is in being neighborly to the neighbor and letting them get access to their own garage. So I just,
Well, I
I don't
think
know if there's a question there or not.
I think the neighbor does have to be considered because it is an existing shared driveway, and therefore it's a shared asset between two properties. It raises a severe practical difficulty if the driveway on this property is eliminated for the neighbor. I mean, it actually would be well, you can see they don't have another way out with their existing
Could
structure.
we see that picture again?
But they obviously have an easement for this driveway. What is the law about, you have an easement?
There's not an official easement, I don't believe.
Oh,
There's probably an easement for access. It would be not title, but it would be a prescriptive. Well, it's called a prescriptive easement. It's like adverse possession.
And
right,
I mean, I think
so if the Coleys took away their whole driveway out to the street, what would that do for the neighbor?
Right.
To take away half of it.
Well, they couldn't get in then.
They couldn't get into their driveway.
And the Coleys could do that. If
They'd
we
have
say
to-
no, that would be something the Coleys would have to do. Is that correct?
They'd have to buy a smart car. That's about to.
Well, the Coleys could also park two cars right where the hand is, in the new formation, just park two cars there and make it equally difficult for their neighbors to get in and around them.
Yeah, so I guess the question is, if the variance is not granted, what is the option to obviate this issue?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
They can't, then you're forcing them to never touch their driveway.
And the other thing we have to remember is there are a lot of shared driveways in this portion of there's like 4 or 5 just between Bellevue and Bradley in this area, right? There's one right across the street from them that's a shared driveway. Basically, at the corner of their property on Bellevue or on Bradley, there's another shared driveway. There's a lot of shared driveways in this area, and they're.
But the difference or the issue here is when you start at the bush line on the house to the left, the applicant, and fill that in with grass all the way over to they're right there, fill all that in with grass, you're still causing a problem. They're going to have a hard time backing out with the grass.
So it's so
there.
narrow there, yeah.
And if they park a car where the hand is, you really are going to have a hard time getting around them.
Well, yes, but I mean, they've been successfully sharing the garage for a long time. I think there is a reasonable 2-car width to that garage, to that existing driveway, even at that porch, because there's a decent amount on the Coleys property. So
yeah, my guess is it's tight, but you still would get a car through if you took the hand and moved it a little further to the right. We're in the middle, right about in there. I think it would be tight, but there's enough room to get a car on. So I'm just trying to think out loud. What's going to happen when that's just going to be a rectangle of cement that's going to have grass in front of it and a car sitting on it. Potentially,
well,
park the car.
It'll look like one wide driveway that kind of serves the neighbor's house. I think the visual aspect of it is really not. I mean, it doesn't seem out of place in this picture.
Well, is it going to taper, George? Is it going to go diagonally down to this front tree, or is it?
We're showing it go kind of to the end of that bay on the house.
Go back again.
Or maybe that's
so it's straight on. It's just gonna be a runway. It's just gonna go straight and then.
Well, then it'll curve. Yeah, then it'll curve in, right? I mean, and I think we're gonna introduce a fence. I mean, there's a landscape plan that's part of the final.
I was gonna say, I mean, it has to be a landscape plan and a fence, and it's just really hard to imagine what it would look like. It's different, but
It
you gotta
probably
create
will look,
the avenue for them to get into their garage, and then
I'm guessing the concerns about having it be like a runway with cars parked will be not as big a concern when there's landscaping and some grass and stuff like that. It might
Oh,
look a
yeah.
little better.
Well, unless the
And I can-
landscaping will all be behind it.
I can share the landscape plan. It's the submission that we have now made for the garage that includes a landscape plan and all that, if you'd like to. see.
Maybe we should ask the applicant if they want to donate that driveway and have it become the other, I mean, they would do,
Well,
give them
George-
the driveway and then it's part of their driveway, but it just happens to be a double car driveway attaching to the Bellevue, garage.
Is it possible to taper the line, Rob, if you go back to the photograph? Is it possible to taper the line from the corner of the garage out towards the tree? Come down to the sidewalk. Yeah, right.
Oh,
When you actually look at the plan, you see that the place that you need it to be wider is towards the back there, because the bump out is really towards that back.
Yeah.
That bump out is, I mean, we're getting rid of the whole driveway up to that point. Now, I mean, I think they want to leave that square probably in case they want to leave a car there, but that's,
But also because of the neighbors.
you still have to really, yeah, I mean, you still might want that, especially if, say, the neighbor paves more, they may be coming out more at a sideways angle and turning towards the street if they pave further, behind their deck or behind their structure.
And a bunch of the other shared driveways that we see in this area, you oftentimes do see two cars side by side, but it never looks strange or out of place when you see that. Right, you see them parked next to each other. I mean, there's two cars parked next to each other in my driveway right now. I mean, it's the way it is.
plus there's a lot of houses in that area that don't even have a garage.
Yeah, I was trying to find one.
Well, there are there's a couple on Bradley, and there's, I think, one or two on Bellevue.
I have a 2-car garage, but it's not wide enough to put. You can't get out of the door if you put 2 cars in it. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
Okay, well, George, I'm sorry I jumped in. Did you have more in your presentation?
No, I mean, I am happy though to share more information with you on this, but I would probably have to screen share from my final submittal for the garage, which is a more recent submittal. We got, the whole landscape plan and everything there. I mean, you could see that. And I think that could mitigate your concern about the visual impact of this, but I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think there is really a visual negative to leaving part of that garage, honestly. But
You mean driveway?
Yeah, I can't speak for everybody, but I don't think any more landscaping is going to help change my mind. I think whether, the whole driveway stays, and it might appear that it's the neighbor's driveway, but either way, I think visually it's going to look okay. And whether the property line goes down the middle or not, it doesn't really, affect the visual look of it to me.
right. Yeah, if there's not a general concern about that, I don't want to take up any more of your time than is necessary.
I'm more concerned who's going to shovel, are they who's going to make them shovel the whole thing, or?
That's one of those things they'll figure out. I'm sure the Coleys will take care of their part of it or do whatever they've been doing.
They've already had an agreement about doing it. So,
Yeah. Well,
between
it's
them
less.
and the Longs that live there. So
That's right.
Okay, other questions from the board of George? Okay. Christy, can you see if there's anybody in the audience who would like to chime in?
Sure. I do have a hand raised. promoting Jennifer Long as a panelist. Jennifer, let us know when you're online. Jennifer, if you would please unmute and start your camera.
Sorry, we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, we were kicked out. Can you hear us?
I see something saying Jennifer is talking, but
Not my video.
Okay. All right.
Here they
Okay.
are.
All right. Sorry about that. We got kicked out right when you were coming to us.
We have to swear in.
Oh,
Dale?
Who's
Dale, are
going
you
to
there?
testify? Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot I was on mute. Is Jennifer going to testify?
Yeah, we're Chad and Jennifer Long are right here.
Okay, I'll swear you both in at the same time then. Do you both solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
I only heard one yes.
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 Thank you.
okay, the floor is yours, you guys.
Okay, great. So you guys have brought up a lot of good points.
Tell them that we're the neighbors.
Yes, and so we are the neighbors. We're the 36 Bellevue that share the driveway. And so our concern would be that if there is no variance, we wouldn't have access to our garage.
Right.
So that being said, we do appreciate that they're keeping a shared driveway there, or that's what they're attempting to do or asking to do. So we do appreciate that. The only concern that we have, the main concern that we have is based on where the driveway ends. Either way, we're going to lose access to a parking spot. There's a parking spot that is perpendicular to the garage to the left. So basically you come down the driveway and you turn into that spot. We're going to lose access to that with the way that things are proposed right now. There just won't be enough room to make the turn to utilize that parking spot.
Rob, can you pull up the street view image?
Sure, hold on.
Where the one that's kind of off at a 90, so they can point it out.
This one?
Maybe go back, if you can go back one picture, there's one from about 10 feet to the left. That shows his truck and stuff in there.
I don't have any, I didn't share any additional pictures of this.
Oh,
I can look at,
got it.
you know what I can do? I can, hold on. Let me change the, hold on one second. How about this?
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, that works.
Okay.
Oh, that's a great demonstration of the parking spot you're talking about. There's a car on it.
Yeah, so depending on where the driveway stops, that'll be an issue. We'll lose that.
Oh, I see. But
And
isn't
what's
that
nice
behind-
about that parking spot is that if we park a cart there, then there's always access to get in and out with either car. You don't have to move cars to get in and out. So
That's not on your property?
Yes, it is.
Just can't back out of there.
Oh, I
or
see.
you wouldn't
Yeah,
even be able
yeah,
to pull in because
yeah.
what you can't see, it's hard to see, but there's a deck right there. So it's a really tight spot. So unless you come in at the right angle, you can't get into it. If that makes sense.
So if they eliminate their half of the driveway, halfway up the shared driveway, that you won't be able to do that at all.
That's right. Yeah, you wouldn't have, unless it was a really tiny car. You wouldn't be able to make that turn to get into that spot. But
And
that's that's our concern. We would lose that convenience.
Or I think there might be landscaping or some alterations to your driveway you could make potentially that would enlarge the spot enough to make the turn, or is it based on the size of the vehicle? Or, seems like you could still make that turn and stay on your property.
So there's a fence that runs along, the way that car's parked on the driver's side of that car, there's a fence, and that car's probably about 2 feet from the fence on the left. And then on the right, there's a deck, and it's probably a foot from the deck or a foot and a half from the deck. So it is really tight. you know, and again, I'm not, you know, I just wanted to point that out that, you know, without the right access, we'll lose that. But again, if they decide that, you know, if you guys don't give the variance, we lose half the driveway, we won't have access to any of that, including our garage. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, I don't, by the variance requested, I don't think there's anything we can do about that. It's either, you know, they're seeking to leave a portion of it, unless they're willing to change their plan. I'm afraid we can't help you on that issue.
Okay.
But it's certainly, I mean, it's helpful to the analysis. It's an interesting case because, as I said, I think the variance is more essential for you guys than it is for the property owner.
It is. Yes. Yeah. So I'm definitely not against it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And technically speaking, George, they wouldn't have to do anything to do their project, right? I mean, is there any need to, you know, from a construction standpoint, is there any need to do what you're doing in order to do the pool and the driveway on the other side of the house?
Yeah, they need to tear down their garage.
No, right, but
That they don't necessarily need to remove the driveway.
Yeah, I think even the driveway is respecting the spirit of the shared driveway. And I think the driveway tends to be more used on the Coley's property just because of the way that lot line falls. The lot line, I mean, that one car garage is in fact, it's either a couple inches from the lot line or on it at the front end. So yeah, I mean, they are interested in creating that green space on their property.
Okay. Gotcha.
But I think there might be some landscaping. I mean, say you might have to move the fence or do something to make that space work on that side.
Well, then that's a different issue, really.
Essentially, that access is around your porch is the most critical element of this. And we've all been, as we realized where the property line was and what the site plan was saying, we realized that it was kind of a critical issue from your side. And obviously we don't want to make changes to the property that have a, you know, big negative effect for you guys as neighbors.
But that's, I mean, Lisa, I guess I hadn't really thought about that, but you're right. I mean, the issue, I mean, this is an aesthetic, you're seeking, you want to put green space in, right? This has nothing, this is one of those rare cases, has nothing to do with the footprint of anything you're proposing. You're building a garage, you're building a pool, in-ground pool. It simply is an aesthetic, put green space in, right? I mean, if we were to deny this, you'd have the driveway would stay as is, I assume.
Well,
if we deny it, we have to.
Because they don't have a garage attached to the driveway.
Well, no, if we deny it, then they'd either fill in the entire half of their driveway or they'd leave it as is.
I think if we were to move the garage and you were to deny the variance, I think the letter of the law would be that we would be required to eliminate that entire driveway on our property.
Because there was no garage attached to it.
Correct.
But you'd only be doing that because you don't like the aesthetics of it, right? I mean, that.
No, we'd be doing it because
there was no garage.
Well, no, if they left it, because they're removing the garage. I'm sorry, you're right, because they're removing.
I just figured that out. Unless we construed that this driveway and the garage that's on Bellevue are, you know, enough to support that there's no variance required. Is that a thing?
Wait, say that again, Lisa?
In other words, we got a double driveway. We have a garage at the end of it. To Andrew's point, there is a garage at the end of the driveway. It just happens to be on half of the driveway.
I mean, that's what's interesting to me, and what's made this which made it more interesting for me is the fact that it's not just an aesthetic. It's not just a we want a cement pot in our front yard to park cars, which we don't do in Chagrin, but this is actually the neighbor who needs access to it.
Yeah.
Right. So could we, I guess we could conceivably, if Dale tells us so. I mean, could we interpret the code to say it is still a garage. It still is a driveway connected to a garage because it's a shared driveway. And there still will be a garage off of it. It'd be bold new law, I think, or new interpretation. But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So we can talk about analysis. The Longs, is there anything else that you have?
No, not this time.
Thank you very much for your, and any questions for the neighbors that we didn't ask?
I don't believe so. Do you have any questions?
I'm sorry, from the board to you guys. Yeah. Okay. So back then to Christy, is there anybody else in the crowd who wants to speak? If we can, if it's still in favor of, that's fine. If there's just a few hands, we can take whoever's out there.
Christy, I think you're muted if you're trying to talk.
She was working on her microphone, I think.
My audio came through now.
Yeah.
Yeah, still having problems with the audio. Christy, is there a way of just letting us know via chat or something whether anybody else is out there in the audience?
Yes, I'll do that.
Oof.
No other attendees?
Okay.
Okay, so again, one last time, is there anybody else out there? Raise your hand. Christy can still see you. While the audio is challenging, we can at least chat. So one last go around. Anybody else out there who would like to speak? Okay, so we've heard again, no one else is out there. So at this point, I mean, board, lots of good discussion. Is there any further discussion we want to have before we entertain a motion? Dale, do you think it's within our scope of what we do to interpret the provision of the code that says a driveway has to have a lead into a garage, that we can interpret it for a shared driveway where there's still one garage, that suffices?
Well, you clearly have that power to interpret the code. The question of whether that's a correct interpretation is something I think you need to discuss, and you ought to look at the code section if you're going to go that route.
Variance, though, Wade, is by granting the variance, we essentially say it's okay in this particular case.
Yeah, no, that's right. We can just say we're just gonna grant the variance in this case for whatever reason. So
yeah, I mean, why set a standard for everything? Every case that we see is a case-by-case basis based on the facts that surround it. Right. This particular shared driveway is unique to this particular shared driveway.
I think that's right. I think that's right.
Okay.
I don't know. So I think we just go forward with the motion and see if the variance passes.
Okay. Rachel, does that mean you have the motion?
Nope, Jim does.
I got the motion. I got notes again.
All right.
Because he was working on the motion. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I would like to make a motion to grant a variance to section 112504B7. It states that all driveways in the village need to connect to a garage. The applicant, I don't have the address. 44 Bellevue. Yeah, 44 Bellevue Street. Is requesting a variance because with tearing down a garage and building a new one, they are leaving an existing driveway, which a shared driveway with their neighbors, and they were removing part of it, but leaving some of it on their property, which is why they need a variance. I think the property would still yield a reasonable return if we did not grant this variance, although the property will have a more beneficial use for the neighbor if we do grant the variance. I do not think the variance is substantial at all. The essential character of the neighborhood would not be altered. And the adjoining properties would definitely not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. It's actually the other way around. If we do not grant the variance, they will suffer a substantial detriment. The variance will not adversely affect the delivery of governmental services. The owner did not purchase the property with the knowledge of the zoning restriction, and the owner's predicament cannot feasibly be obviated through some other method than the variance. As we stated, without the variance, they would have to remove the driveway, which would leave a very small, unusable driveway for their neighbor. And the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed, and substantial justice would be done by granting this variance. And the variance is not based on circumstances that are self-created or exist as a result of the action of the owner. And for all these reasons, I make the motion.
For a second? Okay, Lisa Kramer, second. Roll, please.
Rick.
Well, as evidenced by a lot of my dumb questions, I do believe that there is a pretty strong policy or practice in our community against driveways that just turn into parking spaces in the front yard. There may be some grandfathered, but that being said, in this case, I do believe there's been lots of evidence that this is a very unique driveway, and there has been evidence that the neighbor would have significant difficulty getting in and out of their property. So I would vote in favor based on the very unique situation of this property, the location of the house, the neighboring house to the driveway. And I'm sympathetic to the neighbor's plight of losing a potential parking space. I don't know if that's within our purview, other than to say I hope that the Coleys or Coley and Robbins can think about that as they go forward. So I would vote yes, but I think this is a significant variance. But my vote is due to the very unique situation of these properties.
Holdren.
I vote aye for all the reasons in the motion.
Kramer.
I vote aye as well. I think it's unique in the sense that you have shared drive, any place that you have a shared driveway like this, it's kind of a unique circumstance. I also think that the applicant is to be commended for trying to work this out, because obviously it would be very detrimental to the neighbor if they couldn't have access to their driveway based on the reconfiguration. And hopefully, as Wade had suggested, they can work through getting some landscaping that allows them to access that spot behind their property. But I would vote aye.
Rocky.
I'm going to vote aye for the reasons stated, but I am going to ask that we urge the homeowners to add some sort of landscaping and do the best they can, to make sure that we make this look like it's, flowing and has always been there and isn't just, ending into their backyard.
Freshman Johnson.
I vote aye for the reasons stated in the motion. I think actually the Coleys have done right by their neighbors. They could have easily done something different. They have a large lot. They have the opportunity to upgrade with a larger updated garage. The pool and the landscape, what they do in between in their green is up to them, but they came up with a plan that accommodates both the neighbor and uses part of their very valuable property in the village, every square inch that people can get in those neighborhoods. So I think that they're doing the right design here, and it's hard to imagine, but I bet you it will turn out great, and you'll never realize there was another driveway there one day. So for all those reasons, I vote aye.
I think that was all five, correct?
It was all 5-0.
Okay, so again, if you're with us before the previous application, council has 15 days to have 3 members take this as an appeal. I've never seen a 5-0 decision get appealed to council, but you never know. So Rob Jameson will notify you close to 15 days if there's been no appeal taken, and you will have your project approved and can proceed thereafter. So good luck.
Thank you. Thanks to the board. Appreciate your
Okay.
consideration. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. Our next application is that of Conrad Foley, 513 North Street. Rob, if you could please give us the background on this one.
Sure, let me get a plan here so we know what we're looking at. Okay.
Oh, stop video.
Okay, 513 North Street, property owned by Conrad Foley. This is permanent parcel number 93104-005 in the R1 100 zoning district. This is the proposed installation of 30 ground-mounted solar panel units behind the house. Each panel is 5.5 feet by 3.25 feet in dimensions for an overall total size of 27.5 feet by 19.5 feet, which equates to 536.25 square feet. One variance is needed. That's to section 1153.05 that states that solar panels shall be placed on the roof of a building in accordance with the listed requirements. Ground-mounted panels are not permitted under our code. So this matter has not been before the Architectural Board of Review as of yet. This is kind of a unique request, unique item. I know when the section of the code addressing solar panels was addressed, that it was the desire that all solar panels be located on the roofs of buildings, whether that be a main building or an accessory building. That was the desire when the code was created. And that's what we have before us now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rob. I turn it over to the applicant, whoever is presenting on behalf of the application.
Hi, I'm Stuart Lip. Go ahead, Dale.
Okay, can you raise your right hand, Stuart? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, what we're proposing on the Foley property, which consists of 2.5 acres of open land and house, is 30 325-watt solar PV modules. This would create a 9.75 ground mount array and would offset 75% of their yearly electrical usage. This ground mount takes up about 600 square feet. It is 10 feet high, 10 to 12 feet high, depending upon how it's designed, 35 feet long. And actually on the whole total 2.5 acres, it's only going to take up half of 1% of property. And it's in their back field. This is a renewable source of energy. We can get into the guidelines that the solar PV was written in 17, but unlike Brecksville, where they say in their ordinance, ground-mounted solar energy equipment shall not be permitted, the Chagrin Falls ordinance has no such language. You talk about screening. If a array was put on a roof, there's no screening involved. So that's where we are in this.
Why not put this on the roof?
There would be excessive tree work to be done. And also Conrad and his wife would probably have to put on a new roof within 5 years. And so that means the array would have to come off.
Why would they have to put on a new roof?
It's coming towards the end of its life expectancy.
So whether they need it, whether they put the solar panels or not, they're going to need a new roof in 5 years?
I'm sorry, say that again, Wade.
I think that's the point.
Will they need a new roof regardless of solar panels
Yeah,
or not
five
in 5
to
years?
10 years, they're going to need a new roof
Okay.
and a lot of tree work.
And when you say a lot of tree work, I assume because that you have trees in the back, I've been by the house that are blocking the sun at certain times of the day. What type of tree work would actually need to be done?
They have tree work they have trees to the west, southwest, that would need to be trimmed or come down. And then also there's one, I believe, an oak to the southeast.
And have you priced out what it would cost to take those out?
I don't think the homeowner wants to move those. I mean, they're good. They're clean. They eat carbon.
Okay.
I'm not in favor of taking down trees to put up solar. I'm in favor of trimming trees to get sunlight, and also that branches don't overhang the house and destroy the roof and grow moss.
So you might be able, you reference, did you say Brecksville or another?
Yeah, Brecksville has in their ordinance, no ground mounts.
Because what am I'm looking at ours, and our code says shall be placed on the roof of a building. Are you saying?
But it
that's
doesn't
not-
say anything about ground mounts.
Well, I can address that. Also, all of the regulations following the main comment in subsection C talk about where how the panels should be viewed, slope, pitch, all of that, and it's all related to roof mounted units. If there was any desire for that to for ground mounted units to be installed, there would be absolutely no regulation on them on the yard whatsoever, because it only addresses, it talks about solar panels, how they're placed on the roof of a building, and that is the intent and the way our code's written. Different communities write their code different ways, and that's my interpretation, my understanding of our code, as well as what the people that I discussed this with.
Yeah, no, I would go along with that. I live in I live on Water Street. I have a south-facing roof, and I have a backyard that's about 10 by 10. And a ground mount would not be considered there. But while it would be considered on the roof, Conrad has 2.5 acres.
Sure.
This is unique to Chagrin, the village, and it's a good utilization of that property.
And if he didn't, if he could build a shed in the same spot, correct? And put them on the roof and not require a variance.
Correct. I mean, I guess if if
it meets all the requirements of
build a
mounting them
barn.
on the roof, yes.
I mean, the ordinance doesn't specify that it has to be the roof of a house. It just has to be mounted on a roof.
Correct.
Yeah.
Roof of a building is what it's.
So it doesn't say that. I mean, it doesn't say that only. It says it mentions location, description, and screening. The screening shouldn't be in there if it's on a roof. Mentions as an accessory to a main building. And so you, of course, under Ohio PUCO law, you have to have an off-taker. It mentions alternative location, and if necessary, to optimize system generation. So we're giving you an alternative location to optimize the generation.
You mentioned
Where
that
on the property is this go ahead, Rachel.
Rob, you have a picture of the
What do you,
picture.
This is the one I thought.
No,
So, I mean, it's
should be
the rear
another
of the
one.
property.
There should be another one.
hold on, there's a lot of pictures, a lot of items
Yeah.
in here.
While you're searching, Rob, this has not been before ARB, correct?
Correct.
There you go.
Is that?
Yeah, there.
Sure.
There you go. That's a good one. So it would go not at where the one is, but at the end of the one.
To the left of the one?
No, to the, see this, that line? That's where it would go.
You mentioned that it would generate 75% of the electricity needs for the house. Do you have some financials that talk about how much impact that is? How much a year are they spending on their electricity bill?
Give me a minute, Rachel. I have to get their electric bill.
I just want to understand for materiality what this really benefits.
Well, he's
My
making
house would only be $500.
he's making a $30,000 investment. And his
That's my point, is like, at my house, 75% of my annual electricity is like $500.
he spends 14,000.
What is he running at this property?
I'm sorry, he uses 14,000 kWh a year.
Oh,
And
It's about 10 cents or 6 cents, I think.
no, that's just the generation part.
Yeah, so 10 cents, I think.
By
is-
fully delivered.
Yeah.
In Northeast Ohio, fully delivered is 12 to 15 cents a kilowatt hour times 14,000. His spend is about $2,000 a year. So he's going to save 75% of that 2,000.
So it'd take him 30 years to make back this
Yeah.
investment.
Well, there's a tax.
right.
He gets to, I don't know whether they're going to get it off this year, but there's a 26% federal investment tax credit. For residential, it's a long payoff. For commercial properties, it's down to 5 years.
Can I ask a question? If he had a new roof, would he be putting the solar array on the roof?
Possibly.
Okay, so it really is just about not wanting to have to.
With Lisa, with tree work and
Got it.
tree work, you have that. If you look at this photo, he has that great big oak.
Right.
And then also over here to the west of the house, he has some tree work there.
Okay.
And these panels are going to get southern exposure, correct?
Yes, to the you in Northeast Ohio, you want the modules to face the southeast, or to the southwest.
Okay, and is there really, I mean, looking at it and looking at where the orientation of the panels are, there's not really a roof pitch that's going,
No.
that faces in that direction.
And he is a Dutch colonial, and we'd have to put him in multiple locations on that.
And you'd probably have to pitch them up. They'd have to
Right, and then the other thing is it'd be facing, some of them would be facing the road, and that's more in your guidelines ordinance, that it says that they shouldn't face the front of the house.
Yeah, I think the way the ordinance is kind of written, it's solar panels are allowed if you hide them. You're allowed to use solar panels, but you can't have them blinding to your neighbors. So
Right.
that's why I was asking where these were. And there's a 2.5 acre property, and these are on the very back of the property.
They are. And they're now with non-glare glass. And we can put screening. I mean, Conrad said he'd put some screening as long as, it doesn't interfere with the generation.
And he's probably planning to put some shrubberies or something around the base of them to hide.
That's the screening I'm talking about,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, to hide most of the structure there.
So, I mean, I guess going along with the way the ordinance is written, if we were to grant a variance to put it, so it's not on the roof, the rest of the ordinance would still apply. Solar panels shall not be visible from any street or sidewalk at the front elevation of the property. There's several other things. So am I
Yes.
correct, Dale? If we were to say, yes, you can put it on a roof, they still have to, follow the rest of the rule.
They do.
Other questions from the board?
Are you going to have any problems meeting the slope requirement? The pitch is less than 3 inches per foot for flat. I guess that's really I withdraw that comment. Never mind.
That's the slope of the roof.
Yeah.
Other questions from the board? Okay. Christy, can you see, is there anybody out in the cyberspace who'd like to speak?
How's my audio now?
It's fine.
Good.
Much better.
Great. Good, good. If there are any folks that are in attendance that would like to speak on behalf of this project, please raise your hand in Zoom so I can identify you. No, Sir Wade. No hands raised.
No one out. Okay, going
Nope.
once, going twice. Okay. Any final questions from the board?
I've got one. How do you keep the snow off them?
They're hot.
They get hot?
Repose. And so the angle between the leading edge to the south and to the north, the snow will fall off. And then also the modules generate a little heat themselves. And so the bottom part underneath the module heats up and the snow melts off. Plus we haven't had a good winter in Northeast Ohio recently. So we have rain, so the rain takes it off.
All right, we ready for a motion then?
All right.
Sure.
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion on the proposal of the variance to the address, hang on, 513 North Street. Proposal to install ground-mounted solar panels. The variance is required to section 1153.05 solar energy systems, stating that solar panels shall be placed on the roof of a building in accordance with the listed requirements. And these are ground-mounted solar panel arrays. The size of the solar panel arrays is approximately 600 square feet. In the backyard, it is a large property, and it is the backyard property on a 2 to 3 acre lot. In the open area in the back of the property. They will be mounted on this facing the south to gain the energy that it needs in the placement, and it would adhere to ARB and other, ABR and other requirements to install. The variance is substantial in that our code clearly states no ground mounted panels. So this is a yes or no. There's no true reason that they need to do ground panel besides the fact that the roof would need to be replaced in order to hold the solar panels on the roof, and there would be a substantial investment into the trees to remove them so that the solar panels could work on the roof. Additionally, that is counterintuitive to the purpose of solar energy and removing greenery that's adding to the carbon in the environment. The solar panels are going to be used to produce 75 to 80% of the homeowner's annual electrical costs, as well as to benefit from a tax deduction for residential through the years. It's approximately a $1,000 savings a year in electrical costs. The property was not purchased with intent to do this many, many years ago. So this is a new circumstance. The owner's feasibility could do this on the roof as we stated, but would need to invest a lot more money, not only in the different solar panel, but to replace the roof and the trees. It would not affect delivery of governmental services. The spirit of the neighborhood, it really wouldn't impact too many people except for the neighbors, except their properties are very large. So the distance and showing of where those solar panels might be would only bother likely one neighbor. They do stand, I believe that was said 10 feet in the air, and it would cover 600 square feet of ground. So it would be obvious and would likely require the standard requirements of shading and covering or landscaping around to make sure it blends in with the nature that it's installed in. And for all those reasons, I submit this variance.
Rachel, hang on one second. Are you including in the motion that there be a requirement that they install screening around the array?
Whatever's in the normal course of the installation of solar panels per our code, it does require some level of installation requirements that.
Well, but
ground cover.
if this variance were granted and Rob and Harry are trying to enforce it, our code contemplates that it not be visible from the street or sidewalk. Are you going to require that that's the only criteria for screening and not that they'd have to screen it beyond what would be visible from the street?
That's correct.
Isn't that also something Dale ARB will do?
They can.
I mean, this has to be approved by ARB yet, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not adding any additional, just the standard requirement not to be seen from sidewalk or street.
And there was a second on that, I'm
That's
sorry?
For me, yeah.
From Lisa, okay.
Mhm.
Roll call to Rob.
Holdren,
Yeah, I vote aye. I think, as I stated earlier, that, the reason for this ordinance is just so it's not, solar panels interfere with, neighbors. Some people might not like that. Some might not mind, but I think the, applicant putting in the rear of their yard, and as long as they follow the code, so it cannot be seen from the street or sidewalk, I don't see any reason not to grant this variance. I vote aye.
Kramer,
I would also vote aye. I think that we want to encourage alternative energy sources, and I think the applicants to be commended for attempting to do that. I think it is a unique situation in that it's not a village property that's got neighbors on all sides. Obviously, you wouldn't put this in your backyard if you had a small, house in the middle of the city of the village. But I think there should be some attempt to, mitigate any use the existing recommendations of the ARB to mitigate any involvement of or impact on the neighbor. Obviously, I assume if by no negative comments that nobody has been whose neighbor has been concerned about this. So I'm glad that they're trying to do this, and I understand that it's a fairly unique situation. And for village properties in the center of the village, we would be having a different conversation. So I would vote aye.
Rocky,
Vote aye for the reasons stated, but I'd like to add that, the spirit of the zoning has really been upheld, because when you talk about small lots and putting, ground mounted solar panels in small lots, that's taking up a lot of green space, but on a 2.5 acre lot, you're taking up a tiny percentage of it.
Freshman Johnson,
I actually vote no. I'm not in support of a variance that changes the intent of our code to say we support solar panels on the roof. Period. It's pretty black and white for me, and I'm going to support that code. I vote no.
Frick.
I echo a lot of statements that have been made by virtually everyone who spoke ahead of me. I applaud the applicants and their desire to seek alternative sources of energy. Perhaps they're ahead of their time. Good for them. I applaud Mr. Lip. Good presentation. Again, trying to do the right thing. However, I am. This is. I've been on the board. I don't know how long, a long time, and I've never. This, as far as I know, is our first case on solar panels. And I look at the exact wording of our code, and it says shall be placed on the roof of a building. And it says the ARB may approve placement of solar panels in roof locations, in alternative roof locations. I mean, they couldn't be clearer that whoever wrote this said solar panels should go on a roof and they shouldn't be seen. So I again, while I applaud what they're trying to do, and I understand it's going to cost money to put them on the roof and to trim trees, I agree with Rachel. This to me seems running squarely in opposition to the pretty clear language in our code that says solar panels shall go on a roof. And when we're looking at a first case like this, I understand this is a large lot and things like that, but I still, I don't think our code could be any clearer that this has to go on a roof. And this is not because we don't want to spend the money to put on a new roof. So I would vote no. So that the good news for the applicant is it passed 3-2. That means council has 15 days to consider our vote. Take 3 members of council to do that. Rob will let the applicant know as close to 15 days as possible whether an appeal has been made. If it's not, then you have your variance and you can proceed. So 15 days or close thereto, you'll have at least the answer as to the next step, which could be a final approval. All right. So thank you, Mr. Lip. Thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Good luck to the applicants.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. Okay, our last item is the application of Paul Seagot, 17 River Street. Rob, this is not our first rodeo on this property, but could you at least update us as to why we're here tonight?
Sure. This is 17 River Grill, 17 River Street. The property owner is Paul Seagot, and the restaurant owner is Rick Duty. This is actually 3 different parcels covering this one location. Parcel number 932-06-049, parcel number 932-06-048, and parcel number 932-06-047. This establishment is covered by 2 different zoning districts, both the central shopping zoning district as well as the retail business zoning district. And it's somewhat split on the property on which part of the building and features are in which zoning district. There is 2 different zoning review letters that went out reviewing proposed projects for this site. The one dated August 28th covered the proposed patio pergola, entrance pergola, and the rear fixed canopy structure to the rear decks. And the zoning review letter of September 28th, 2020 covered a service area enclosure on the west side of the building. There's a variety of variances here I'll try to go through quickly. The first is to section 1145-02B, additions and modifications to a non-conforming building. This existing building does not meet the setback requirements. The proposed deck canopy and service enclosure are considered modifications or additions to the non-conforming building. The next variance is to section 1137-04A, required yards. The service enclosure on the west side of the building goes over the property line and is into area that was always used for the service area, but the enclosure now makes it part of the building. So it's increasing the building over the property line and into the side yard setbacks, into the required yards. Section 1137-04B, setback of accessory structures, references the pergola structure and the fact that that is in the required front and side yards. You can see the property line of 2 of the parcels goes right through the patio area, and the pergola structure covers both parcels, a portion of both parcels in the patio area. And then finally, a variance to section 1151-02, the stream channel buffer area setback. This is the river buffer variance, as it's commonly known, and this refers to the deck canopy structure the pergola, and the service area enclosure, which are all within the 120-foot river buffer. This area and some of these improvements, you might recall, I believe it was at our last meeting where we granted a variance for the extension of the lower deck into the river buffer and connecting an existing lower deck and a stairway on the south-facing side of the building. At that time, there was no proposed canopy structure over the deck, and now that there is, that requires a new variance. All of these items that I mentioned before us tonight went before the Architectural Board of Review, and preliminary approval was granted. And there was some conditions. Preliminary approval was granted for the proposed modifications before us. I do want to mention that the service enclosure area has already been constructed. Once the village noted that it was constructed, it was completed at that time, and the property owner and operator were notified that this was a non-conforming structure and that they would have to apply for proper variance to the zoning code for that construction. The pergola and the deck canopies have not been constructed. There was some preliminary drilling that had started for some lower area pylons, support pylons under the existing lower deck in preparation for an anticipated canopy. Those were not covered under any plans reviewed or approved by the village. So work was ordered to be stopped, and plans were requested to be submitted, as well as geotechnical information to review for granting of a hillside permit. Those are related to the request for the canopy structure over this part of the deck. There's a lot more detail on each one of these elements of this project. So as we go through this, I'll be happy to explain in further detail each item after the applicant has a chance to describe their proposal.
Okay, lots there. Thanks, Rob. Turn it over to the applicant. Is Rick presenting, or who's presenting? Christie, is anyone out there for the applicant?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Oh, there I am. I'm not live on audio, video, but that's all right.
All right,
Hey,
Dale,
Rick.
can you swear in our witness, please?
Yeah, Rick, you're going first?
Sure.
Okay. Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you'll give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, Rick S., the floor is yours.
Okay. So again, what we have is we've got a lot of variance requests for different pieces of this. The development of this restaurant has been kind of a fluid process. It's tough for someone to make a lot of investment in a restaurant in the current economic situation. And some of what's going on is derived from that as the COVID thing continues. The desire for covered exterior dining has increased greatly. So we're trying to accommodate that. Originally it seemed like a deck with some umbrellas and all that would be fine. But now we need some roofs. We just need to be able to get more people to the place. I don't know that that's going to change in the long term or anytime soon. So again, let's start at the top of the page with the existing lower deck extension with new canopy. There's two of those. You guys had previously approved the construction of the decks themselves, but not the roofs that go over them. So the one to the right, the long skinny one, had there were 6 piers that were hand dug. They're actually hand dug. They're not drilled or anything. There's guys back there with picks and bars and hammers and stuff to make that happen, so we don't create a big mess. So that deck's in place, and what we're proposing now is to put a roof over that, a hard roof, with eventually the construction of some radiant electric heaters and things to make those spaces usable for a longer period of time. And the same thing to the left where the bigger deck is, and that's the spot that Rob is talking about where we kind of got ahead of ourselves and Started digging 3 holes in the ground. We thought we could do that roof with a cantilever. Turned out the structural engineer thought we needed 3 new piers. There was some confusion about whether it was okay to put a roof on that or not. Again, no excuses. That should have been approved by the village and the state of Ohio before those hammers and shovels hit the ground. So that construction is all halted, but hopefully we can look at, the variances on the variances themselves and let, administration handle the other part of it. So what we're looking for is to put roofs over those 2 lower decks. Come up to the new pergola over the existing patio. That's an age-old issue with this particular site and this restaurant, is there's always been a patio there. There's a property line that runs right through the middle of it. The fireplace is over there. What we want to do now is, again, put a pergola there just to create shade and cover for that patio in inclement weather. We think it looks good. The ARB has agreed with us and approved the design of that on a preliminary basis. And I can go faster or slower as you want, but I've been watching you guys. You've been a busy night. And then the new pergola entry at the front is just an image change to the front of the restaurant to kind of, it sort of works in conjunction with what happened over at W Design. It's a wood pergola. It's very successful at W. We want to kind of keep that same vibe going here on the street. We think it's attractive. We think it's an upgrade to the neighborhood, and we have pretty positive feelings about that, and hope you all agree. And then the service enclosure on the right side is, again, an example of, getting ahead of the process, which we discussed, but things happen. So that service area has been in existence since I probably all the way back to Blake's. I don't know. I didn't look at it back then because I wasn't asked to do so, but that service area has been there, and just in an effort to kind of clean that area up for the office building and the parking lot to the west, there's been a fence put around there and a roof over the top of that. The gates aren't on the front yet, but the idea is to ultimately enclose it. So it was all done with the best of intentions, and we hope you agree that it's a good move and grant us these variances. I don't know, Rob or Harry, who is ever in charge, or Katie or Christy, if you want to look at some of the rest of the images that we presented as far as what all this looks like for the benefit of the board. So we have a front view, and you can see what that pergola in the front looks like. And same thing off to the side of the bar. Again, when we put the new roof and extended the bar and changed that, we got rid of the vinyl pull downs there, and we were proposing this wood structure to kind of cover that up and give it some protection and some shade. And we think we're enhancing the property. Rick and Joe and his team are spending a lot of money here, trying to really enhance an already good property. You could give us another look at the next one, would be great. Kind of shows the same thing, but here you get to see the trash enclosure on the side, which is a whole lot better than just looking at the trash cans and the stuff. I mean, nobody wants to look at the laundry bins and the trash cans and everything. So it's an attempt to kind of protect all that from Bill West's view and from the people that are coming down River Street, and still make it a functioning service yard. If you could move to the next one. If you guys want me to slow down, holler, but I'm guessing you're as tired as I am. So here we are in the back. We're proposing some roof structures over those 2 new decks down there. What's not shown in this rendering, because at the time we did this, we thought we could create that roof with a cantilever off the existing structure. Structural engineer got involved. He said, no, I'd really like to see you guys put 3 more piers in the ground, and that's how that happened right there. But that's the essence of what's going on there. That roof on the right is actually going to extend over a little bit farther to come to the edge of the railing and the stairway there. But you're getting the drift of what we want to do there, and it's another view of what that upper pergola looks like from the street. And again, we think.
So Rick, those are permanent roofs. Those are shingles and wood and.
Correct. Right. The decks are already there. The idea is to put a permanent roof there instead of an awning.
Yeah, so the term canopy is really a little bit of a,
Yeah, I get that. I get that, Lisa. If you get into building code, a canopy's a canopy, however you make it. An awning is treated the same way in terms of construction as a wood structure. But the idea is to not put, there was a canvas awning right where the little hand is right now.
yeah.
That's gone. The idea is to replace it with a permanent wood structure with some skylights in it to let the light through and still prevent better coverage during rain. Tom Lutz over at Gamekeepers used to tell me that on Saturday night at 7:00, everything's real nice, and then it would rain. It would be he called it a $10,000 rain. That's how much business he would lose if he didn't have, because that was never covered. It was just never done. So that's kind of what we're trying to avoid here, is that $5,000 or $10,000 rain event, and make the customer, the guests, we call them guests, make the guest experience a more positive one and not subject to the whims of Mother Nature. So yeah, we want to put hard roof there, which is saying we're going to use wood and shingles and all that stuff. And so yes.
I want to know what you call the 6-month winter. If you have a $10,000 rain, it must be a $10 million winter.
Yeah, it is. We're trying to extend that winter to maybe a couple of months, just so, or decrease the winter, extend the summer, because again, and Rick can address this better when he speaks, but his reservations, if people want to sit outside, it's become kind of a thing, and we don't know how long that's going to go on for, but we know it's going to go for a while.
I just have a quick question. The pergola part, is
Sure.
that a pergola typically doesn't have a roof. It just kind of has slats.
Yeah, that's right. So what we would do there is, have you ever heard of a product called Lexan?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so we would put Lexan over that so it looks like a pergola. You see through it like a pergola, but the rain doesn't come through it.
Oh, okay.
So if you're sitting under there, whatever night of the week it is, and they've just brought out your appetizer and it starts to rain, you don't have to run. Because there's really nowhere to go, because maybe there's room inside, maybe there's not.
Was that the same with the front pergola, Rick?
Correct. So if anybody out there can speak to this, I know I believe that the original awning, the whole purpose, they wanted it to be removable. That was kind of the spirit of allowing them to put that awning on the back. And can anybody speak to that? Not sure we were really looking at removable. We were just, probably was a thing of economics and.
Well, it's removable in the winter to protect it. If that's what you're referring to.
But I think they wanted that because they wanted it to be removable. I think that was Architectural Review wanted that black awning that was originally there over the original deck to be removable because it then is only there seasonally. So Andrew, I would say that, again, the ARB's approved this, and then with those awnings, when you take the awning off, typically the frame remains, so you got kind of this skeleton there, so it's not really that attractive. And one of the big sells in this particular location, along with the amazing food, is the amazing view. So just sort of a skeleton of an awning that was there in the summer but isn't right now, probably is less attractive than a permanent structure.
Rick, I'm sorry, has this been before ARB?
It has, yeah. They gave us preliminary approval based on these drawings, yes.
Okay, thanks. Other questions for Rick S?
I guess I have a question about the canopies / roofs. Was there any discussion at ARB about, you're now adding an impervious surface and, I get that you have skylights, but, from the restaurant itself, you're not looking down, you're looking at a roof from the inside of, you know what I mean? It sort of changes the openness and the access to, the falls are right there.
Right.
At this roof that you're looking out over, was there any design, any discussion about that? Because to me, it kind of changes the nature of this
So
this
that's
project?
another great question. And I would tell you, if you went down there now, you'd see a board nailed against the wall where the larger the two roofs have. There have been frames that have been temporarily like erected for a day so that we could study the views and how the views how the roofs impact the view to the falls.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of high up on the bluff, I mean, we've like really sort of designed these roofs to have the minimal impact on the fall. So you still get a really good view of the falls with these roofs in place, the same as you would as if it was an awning. But yes, we've absolutely looked at that because we don't want to block that view. Again, that's part of the enchantment of the whole place.
Rick, I noticed, at least from the drawing, it looks like the pitch of the two roofs is different. Is that accurate? Is that done for that reason?
No, well, originally it was, yeah, we were doing that, but since then, Wade, we've revised that where the pitches are the same. This is just
Okay.
the drawing that the ARB approved. So they're going to have to give us final approval on a design that shows those pitches at the same angle.
But you're comfortable that any seat along the first floor, the main floor window, will have an unobstructed view of the falls still?
Yes, if you're in the very corner there, you may only see 75% of the falls. You might miss the part closest to Starbucks, but it's still a pretty killer view. You won't be disappointed. Make your reservation early.
Hey, Rick, what's the awning or the roof structure on the, I guess it would be like the pergola level, but right there?
Right, yeah. So that's a white fabric awning that's been put up there to, again, just put a roof over that new deck there.
And that will be removable then? That won't match the two below?
No, it's removable, but I'm not sure it will be, but it could be.
It's a good point. You know, when the snow load hits it, we probably do need to remove it for the winter. I didn't even think about it. We haven't gotten that far. We probably should.
Rick Tootie, let me swear you in as long as you might do you solemnly swear the testimony you'll give to the Board of Zoning Appeals will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for considering our variances. I agree that these are kind of unprecedented times. I'm one of the few people crazy, that decided to open a restaurant and in this pandemic, and it is a difficult time. I have been astonished when I've opened this restaurant, and I only own 3 other restaurants. I've opened a lot of restaurants in my career, but none during such a time. And I would say that 60 to 70% of the people that call us and ask for a reservation request outside. And we knew this day was coming, and unfortunately we've laid off about a third of our staff. We've had a pretty mild fall thus far. It's been, a pretty good October up until the last week or two, and a very good September with some nice sunny, warm, very warm weekends, which has helped us. But it is clearly an issue. And yes, we are playing a little bit of a game with Mother Nature. There's no question. We are trying to extend seasons as much as possible. And it's because of the guest. One of the nice things of being a small company like us is you try to take care of your guests. And when 60 or 70% of the people call requesting outside, and then on Saturday, as an example, we probably had almost close to 200 reservations. And when it was cold, we had 50 cancel because they knew that they wouldn't be able to sit outside. Had we had a covered patio that had a heater out there, we might have been able to get them maybe for another few weeks. So.
How much seating do you have out there, though? I mean, if you're socially distancing people.
That's the other thing. We've been trying to social distance and be careful. Everybody needs to be 6 feet apart. I'm on the board of advisors for Governor DeWine. And when we came up with the policy of social distancing, It was really the 5 to 6 foot rule. It wasn't a capacity issue that we came up with. It was more as long as we're socially distanced. And so we try. There's probably honestly a couple of areas in the bar that are pinch points that we've gotten a few comments on open table on. It's tough, you know, because you can't, you have aisleways and things that we probably need to address. That covered awning area is outside. People are a little more comfortable, but there might even be a little tight there. It's a sensitive issue, and it's something if we had these covered patios, we would probably not fully seat them. We'd have a more social distancing than we do.
What was this? I'm just not remembering. Was this permanent roof structure always part of your plan when you asked for the the connecting extended outdoor porches?
No, when you granted the variance for the lower patio, we definitely wanted to put those windows in down below that open. Those are actually doors. That was a lot of work to put those doors in, that open up. But we weren't really covered. We've been open about 2 months now. So this is about week 9 or 10, I think. And I honestly, I did not expect the amount of calls and the requests for outdoor that we've gotten. I mean, it's when it's 60 to 70% of your business, and it does drop off. It's dropped off significantly since the cold weather. I mean, no, we didn't really plan on this. We always wanted to do something up top, and we wanted to do something in the front because we don't really like awnings. In answer to your comment, Rocky, we think awnings are chainy, and they're not very comfortable. If you were under that old awning that was out there on the lower patio, it was always very hot in the summer. Yeah, they're always. I don't think they're comfortable. We got rid of all the awnings around the bar. There were drop down awnings as well because they get foggy and they're not transparent. You can't see through them very well, and so we prefer not to have that kind of structure. We think it's just, honestly, when I built many of the chain of restaurants I built, we did do them because it was an inexpensive way to get additional square footage. I really regret, a lot of those, and I don't think that's the way to go anymore at all. But if you look at our business, we are trying to extend the shoulder months. This would be April, May, September, October, and also avoid those $10,000 rain washout Saturday nights, which do happen when so many people are outside. And that becomes a tough thing for our employees because they're very dependent on tips and they feed their families through that stuff. And when that happens, they don't make the money that they're used to, and that's difficult. But anyway, that's our problem, the restaurant problem.
So I'd like to add that I do think that the solid roofs and the pergolas really do enhance the building, from a design point of view. And I know that's me, and you can take that with a grain of salt and everything. But if you look at the building without them and you look at the building with them, it's a significant investment. It makes the building look better. It makes the building function better. And I think it's overall a really good thing for the village.
And I apologize as well. I'm the one responsible for enclosing that back door area. And Rob let me know the next morning after that was built that was. I've opened dozens of restaurants in my career, and I've never had a back door of a restaurant that was clean and presented well day in and day out. It's just very difficult. Anna Rose and Bill West have become close friends of mine. They live and own the building to what is that, to the west?
West. Yeah.
Thank you.
west.
And I actually am an office tenant of theirs now, and we rent the parking lot from them. And this was something that we came up with them when we designed it, and they were very much a part of. So they prefer this. It will get better. Those 6 foot or 7 foot arborvitaes will grow. I think it will be something that goes away in time, especially as the trees grow, and is an enhancement, because there's everything from trash bins to linen bins to dirty mats. It's not and we, always tried to run good restaurants, but I must say that I've never successfully had great back doors that were clean and presentable. And we have to work on it because our guests literally valet right there, and they walk by.
That's where the valet stands. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an eyesore. It needs to still be improved upon, honestly.
Have you had any discussions about an easement for that structure? Because it's, on somebody else's property.
Sure.
Had any
There
discussion-
is an easement on that property now. The easement doesn't quite come out far enough. I need to have it. There is an easement for that back receiving door and that existing awning that you see there, I believe. And there's some utilities that come in there, the sprinkler system, and maybe the meter for the gas meter and some other things. And so there is an easement and I think we submitted a letter from Bill West as well, and Bill and Anna Rose that supported that. But maybe you can see that picture if you zoom in, because that showed the unsightliness of it. I don't know. I
Hold on.
couldn't see.
Give me a second.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so there you have Anna Rose used to come by. You have a bunch of dead trees there. You have a valet parking sign. You got some red cones. You got a broken valet sign, which is to the right, and that's actually on a good day, by the way. Anna Rose was quite adamant that she always was telling me, "Can't we do something with all these things?" And she's right. And
What is the planning for fire suppression inside that area?
there is a fire suppression in that awning now, I believe. And I think Jim Alumni came out and said there is not a need for any more. If I remember, I can double check with Jim, but I'm pretty sure that the local fire marshal said we're okay from a fire.
Right. So the answer, Andrew, is that everything that's under a roof gets suppressed. New awning, the new structure off the back gets suppressed. Part of that, where the old awning was, already has fire suppression. So everything that's under the roof gets a dry suppression line.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Any other questions for either Rick from the board? Rob, question for you. There was some discussion about the post holes and the work that's now seized. Is that the subject of one of our variances? Remind me at this meeting right now.
It's not part of a variance before us tonight. It is somewhat related in that the holes that are being dug and the posts that are being put on are to support the the canopy structure for that one section of the deck where there is no current, support.
Right.
That is covered under the river buffer variance that's before you tonight. It's in the same, pattern area. They will have to, meet our geotechnical requirements, as well as engineer review and approval of those plans. But there's no new variance that I can see at this point that they would need for those three post holes to be dug. I would suggest though, and I believe you may have considered the idea that if you do grant a variance for these projects here, that you do place the conditions on there to receive a proper approval for those pilings, for those poles, and anchors into the ground to support that structure, since they are related.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just add that I was talked to Rob this afternoon, and I apologize profusely to the city. It's not our nature to do things ahead of schedule. Rob was nice enough to allow us to do a covered pot, perhaps a covered canopy where the awning used to be in lieu of the awning. And when our structural engineer looked at it, we approve everything through Isaac Lewin, who's a great structural engineer. He's done a lot of work, I think, in Chagrin Falls, and he's done a lot of work for Rick Siegfried and for myself. I didn't realize that existing Jekyll's or canopy was cantilevered out underneath there, right? Yeah, and so that's what prompted 3 more post holes requested by our structural engineer, which should have triggered, and had I been right, yeah, you can see it right there. We went through all the proper procedures with a geotech consultant to inspect all the holes. He was out there. He made them dig them deeper. He's a good guy. John, what's his name?
Joe Rectenwald.
Yeah, and he will do the same here if you grant this. If not, we'll fill them in. But there's also the skeleton awning that you can see right there, which I don't think is very attractive, especially in the winter.
Right, I would just add in that, the last time, when we did the new deck to the left of that, the same geotechnical engineer was out there, and he's thorough. He goes down in holes. We got a 24-inch diameter hole, and he goes down in it, and he got a steel rod, and he inspects, and he tests, and he'll do the same thing here. And so it's basically the exact same condition as the other ones. We just, we need to make sure that the village is satisfied. The conditions that we met the last time will be met this time.
I'm sorry, I'm just super confused on what you were digging. This isn't what the building looks like today anymore.
No, that's right. That's before. That's.
So what are you you had a variance to build that structure.
You see where they show the posts right there, Rick, on the lower deck. The additional deck has 6 posts.
Right there.
So this is the new section of the deck that was approved and variances granted, and these are the support structures underneath that were approved. Geotechnical information was submitted, and that hillside permit was granted. Our engineer approved all that. You can see this part of the deck structure. There is a cantilevered section here.
I didn't realize.
And there's no supports under this now.
Right.
So that's what Rick is referring to.
Yeah, I thought we could cantilever.
To go build the post there, or they just need a permit? I'm confused on what the issue is.
No,
you just need approval.
They just need approval. There's no variance needed for the posts that are being or that had started to be installed. They are covered under the variance request before you tonight for the canopy structure above. It's not protruding any further than that. It's related
They're
to
just
that.
fixing
So
it below. Remind me not to sit on that side of the deck for right now.
Well, it doesn't snow. So just so you know, Rachel, right now, there's no snow load on that. But when we add, here's what happens, and I'm probably talking too much and I should shut up. But when the awning's not there, there's snow load on the deck, but there's either people or snow, there's not both. When we put the hard roof up there, I guess there's a chance there could be snow and people, although I doubt it. But when you add a little bit more load, our engineer just felt that to be on the really, 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 really safe side of things, we should put 3 new piers on there and support that in a different fashion than that 6-foot cantilever. I thought we could cantilever it. He said, no, we really need piers, and that's why we're here.
He's just exceptionally careful, as well he should be. I mean, it's his job. And we're planning on, by the way, a metal seam roof, which, you know, the snow slides off of quite easily. And we were going to pick a neutral color that wouldn't create glare or block. I worry about 2 things. One, blocking the view, and any glare that might go onto that roof that would shine up and blind our guests on the upper level. So it has to be done.
So the drawing of the black roof is not actually necessarily what
We were
color-
thinking more of a darker,
like a bronze,
silver gray slate type, maybe more like the color right there. Yeah.
It'll have a matte finish on it. It won't be a shiny finish.
Wait, which color are you thinking?
You see,
charcoal.
You see, I think there's a person
Oh.
there with a red shirt.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
in there.
Yeah, so a gray.
Yeah.
I guess
Something
I'm
that-
sort of struggling with, I mean, it seems as though there's a lot of extra space now in good weather to be outside, which was sort of the thought process behind, connecting these outdoor spaces. Now we're adding, roofs to them, which, I mean, we're doing it, I think, more because of the current situation, which we all don't know how long it'll last, than something that really was part of the original thought process behind the project.
That's partly true. I will say that the falls is magical, and the more that as a restaurateur I can accentuate that, the better. I think the better the chance the restaurant would be successful, and it is. I mean, we've had, I think, maybe 7 or 8 proposals on that corner table already in 10 weeks. And I'm sure that we would have more in the
Proposals
upcoming-
like marriage proposals.
Yes,
Oh,
marriage
I'm like, what are you
proposals. I'm sorry.
talking about?
No, marriage proposals.
Okay.
And that's, my mother owns a restaurant in Columbus. It's been there 40 years. It's called Lindy's. It's my family owns it. My mother's deceased now, but I think she's probably had 1,000 proposals, maybe more, in that restaurant in the 40 years of its existence. And that's the special connection that we want to make with the community of Chagrin Falls. We don't want a restaurant that's here for a short period of time. We'd like to be here for I signed I have a 25-year commitment to this restaurant, and we think if we operate it correctly and serve good food, we can be one of the best restaurants in the east side of Cleveland. And that's our goal, to be a top 5 restaurant in the city. But we also think that, there's certain enhancements that we can do to the building in a very tasteful way that make it a special place that people can connect in that way with the community. And we go all out when they have a proposal. We put a tablecloth on the table. We don't normally put tablecloths. We make it really special, and there's the waterfall there, and it's.
But this is outside, correct?
Yeah, right there on that corner.
So,
table.
if this is outside under a roof, is it the same special place as it is when it's outside not under a roof?
I think so. I really.
I'm
do.
just playing, I mean, you know.
I think it is. I mean, it's the waterfall. It's the, yes. I mean, you put a
Still got
heater
the
out
unit
there.
waterfall.
What did you say?
So, hey, Rob, I got a question. I'm pretty much kind of boiling this into three different things. That there's the side yard structure that I don't see why we can give a variance if it's not on their property for the trash, but that's one issue. There's the front awning or the front pergola and the side pergola, which I think are both aesthetic. I think they look way better, but that's not really up to us to decide the look. But I think it's better, so I'm fine with that. But the back, you mentioned earlier that there would be a hillside hillside variance.
It would be the river buffer variance because you're changing the type of structure in the river buffer. You're going from an uncovered patio or a deck to now having a structure part of the building. So the way the zoning code looks at it is it's now part of the building. You're now increasing the building
right.
That same.
No, I understand that part, but if we were to say, okay, that's fine, you know, we approve the decks, you can go ahead and cover it. And then their designer said, well, you need to do the 3 pillars. Does that require a hillside variance?
That will require a hillside permit, but not a variance.
Okay.
Because when you grant the variance to extend or encroach into the river buffer, those 3 pillars are not encroaching any further than the variance you're granting for the size of the existing deck. So right here,
Okay,
for
so-
example, in front of you, this is the proposed area of where the covered canopy roof structure will go. Right underneath that is where the 3 pilings will go, the 3 posts. That'll all be within the same extending envelope of how far that deck extends.
And so when
or
we
that canopy
approved
roof extends.
several months ago, we approved the other deck and they put in 7 pillars, but we
Right.
didn't really comment on how many pillars. That was all up to Tim Lannon and, you know, our engineers, their engineers, and
Right.
we just said you can build it. So it's kind of the same thing here.
Right,
We
and they
say
will
yes
have
or
to meet,
no.
they will have to meet that requirement, our satisfaction for hillside disturbance. So, you know, we requested those plans. They're gonna be presenting them to us. Their geotechnical information will be presented to Tim Lannon. He'll be reviewing that and approving it. And they'll be required to do that in order to proceed with installation of those 3 posts.
Okay, and then back to that side yard structure. Dale, I mean, I guess that's still in the river buffer, so they need a variance for that. But as far as anything else, I mean, I guess there's a rear or side yard setback that they need a variance for, but can we grant that when it's not even on their property?
You talking about the trash enclosure?
Yes, yeah.
Well, I've said in the past that you cannot. What I'm hearing tonight is that they have an easement, but they're slightly outside of the easement. And so I assume that Rick Duty and Bill West are going to resolve that by expanding the scope of the easement. So you could grant the variance on the condition that they get the easement to cover the area that goes beyond the existing boundary of the easement.
Okay. No, I just,
And then,
Yeah,
pro-
just-
and then provide evidence of that to the village so that we can.
Right.
determine
Right.
those conditions met.
Yeah, we would ask for the approval to be conditional upon satisfying the village and the state of Ohio relative to the easement.
Okay, any other questions from the board to either of the Ricks? Christy, can you open the mic, so to speak, see if anyone out there would like to join in?
I can. If there are any folks who are in attendance who'd like to speak on behalf of this product, it's after 10. This project, raise your hand in the Zoom platform so I can
Come
identify.
on, Linda.
I'll blame it on Linda. Call me Linda.
Right.
We have no hands raised. I don't see anyone in attendance who'd like to speak.
Okay, I just want to make sure that nobody out there is listening. If you're muted or anything else, your last shot. We're good, Christy?
We are good.
All right. Could we entertain a motion then, please?
Wait, I've got one more quick question.
Sure.
How far on this side structure do we protrude? Do they protrude into the or over the edge of the easement? Is that the current easement, or do they? Is it? I mean, are they within the easement? They're just in violation of the setback, or are they over the edge of where the easement would be?
Well, they're over the setback limit.
Yeah, they're over
Right,
the
we already know
setback.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
have the
that-
easement information. Maybe Rick can.
I mean, as long as you made it conditional, I don't think it would matter.
I think the easement is 5 feet and we're 8. So we'd have to change it.
Does that include the bushes that are there, the trees? Is that part of the 8 feet?
No, that does not include the bushes, Dale. That would be additional, but I mean,
Well,
honestly, I need to do probably Mr. West and they need to do some more landscaping along that walkway down there anyway. A lot of their bushes have died, and I'll certainly help them with that.
Yeah.
So Dale, we need to, that easement's gonna have to be farther than the construction anyway to satisfy
Right.
the State of Ohio's fire rating requirement for construction on a property line. So we will get that right. And so it will be, the easement will be more than enough to include the building and the arborvitae.
Okay.
All right, motion? Anyone taking this one on?
Are you going to do them all at once, or are you doing them separately?
I would suggest we do them all at once.
I like
At
that.
this hour, that's a good idea.
Whatever Rachel wants to do, that's fine with me.
Oh, you.
I was waiting for Andrew.
All right, I'll do it real quick.
Take your time.
All right, we'll do them together. Let me figure out how to organize it a little bit here.
I can review those
Okay.
code sections if you need, Rachel.
I have them here. I got it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'd like to propose a motion to approve a variance for 17 River Street to 3 sections of code. Section 114502B is non-conforming buildings and structures. Addition that states a non-conforming building may be altered, modernized, or enlarged, providing that alterations conform to all yard regulations and setback. This existing building at 17 River Street is a non-conforming building in that it does not meet setback requirements. So the proposed lower deck roof/canopy structure is an alteration to this non-conforming building. That's variance 1. Variance 2 is to section 113704B. It was yard and setback regulations stating that setbacks require that if an accessory structure is not permitted in a required yard. The proposed patio pergola that you see on left on the east side of the building is located 9 feet from the front right-of-way line, which is 11 feet under the 20-foot required front yard distance. The proposed pergola structure also covers the entire required side yard setback of 5 feet to an other lot line and extends 10.5 feet over the property line. It is important to note that the existing patio as well as proposed pergola extend over the property line onto an adjacent parcel. It is also important to note that the existing patio is indeed existing. Section 115102 is the third variance to establish a buffer area setback and boundary, establishing a stream channel buffer area setback distance of 120 feet from the lower water mark of the stream channel. This is the river buffer setback that we've discussed before, and the proposed rear canopy structure is 3 feet from the lower water mark of the river. And this is 170 feet required setback distance which is no further or more than the existing river buffer to create the balconies in the back that already exist as well. So first and foremost, it's important to know, can they obviate this, these issues? And I think it's important to state for the motion that all of the patio structures and the balcony structures exist in all of these footprints, and there's no greater footprint being granted. It's more of an aesthetic and roofing capability that cannot be done in any other way. The point of and the intention of the variance is needed to provide business operations to continue throughout more months of the year, especially when you consider the restrictions and issues given for COVID. The desire to sit outside and to add distance in the space of the restaurant rather than be inside is greater and is helping to create business for the restaurant. A variety of structures were considered, and in order to provide a solid structure that also prevents rain and weather from coming through, the roof was determined on the back rather than a canopy feature, and it will be permanent, but it aligns with the features of the building, and they're redoing the roof to tie in the architecture of the building, and the pergola adds a variety of nice site features and architecture as well. They will be working with ABR to get all plans reviewed through that process. It does not impact government delivery. The variance is not really substantial in the sense that the variance to actually build the balcony in the back was already granted, and the patio footprint exists in total. The essential character of the neighborhood is a known area for walking and eating on the river, and the neighborhood would benefit from the aesthetics and the improvements made, offering more outdoor seating, which is highly desirable. And the owner has purchased this property with the knowledge of such variances and continues to work through the processes and is attempting to take one step at a time to improve and enhance the potential to continue to get the business working and operating so that we don't have a vacant building in downtown Chagrin Falls. And the spirit and intent behind the zoning would be supported with this variance.
One point, Rachel. There's a fourth code section that was on the list for variance. That was 1137-04A. Also, that was required yards relating to the service enclosure.
Sorry.
No problem.
I was wondering where that was.
A lot in two different letters, and
yeah. So 1134A.
1137-04A.
You could put your easement condition on that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are we doing the easement condition?
You have to.
I might have stepped away. Okay, so 1134A requires, you have to read it to me. I don't have it here.
1137-04A.
1137-04A, minimum setback from the lot line to a main building, side yard, 5 foot to another lot line. So it's a variance to that section, as well as the 20-foot required front yard to the required street right-of-way line for the service enclosure.
Okay. And for that variance to allow for the improved trash enclosure to provide services correctly, as well as shelter from the valet parking and the easement, it would be dependent on the easement being continued to allow use of that space that is currently under obligation at this point in time. There's no changes to the existing footprint per se. It's just the updates that need to be done to that structure.
I will second that.
Okay, Jim Holgren, second. Rob, roll, please.
Kramer?
I vote aye. Now, there's a lot of work that's gone into this project. I think that Rachel very capably articulated what the what the requests and the issues are. You know, it's a struggle because I don't think initially the intention was that the roof, the permanent roof be part of the project. I think this is a COVID vote on some level with respect to the roofs on the back decks of the restaurant. But I think under the circumstances, it certainly enhances the project. And we've visited all of these code sections before when the back decks were constructed. So in that sense, I think it's a continuation of the intent of the original proposal. And I think the pergolas are an enhancement, as is the service construction. And I think the applicant is going to continue to work with ARB to ABR to make sure that they abide by all of the engineering requirements and code sections with respect to the ARB, that ABR that are required. And I think it's a tough time, and I think, you know, maybe this will generate business for a couple of extra months for folks who would like to actually go out to a restaurant to eat. So I would vote aye.
Rocky.
I'm going to vote no, because I do believe that this is substantial. Anything that comes up that talks about digging or drilling or putting, you know, variances for the river buffer, I think are substantial variances, and we already have hill slippage issues. I know that we've already allowed a couple of pylons to be put, but I mean, the more we put, the more weight we're gonna have. We're gonna have more weight, more you know, with the snow load plus the people beneath it. I'm gonna vote no.
Freshman Johnson.
I'll vote aye for the reasons stated in the motion. I originally, you know, did not approve the variance to build the balconies in the back. I wanted to leave everything where it was, just because I think we start a process there, and now we've started the process, and I think they need to finish it, and it'll improve the area, and the pergola and the trash are completely immaterial in my opinion. The roofs in the back, as long as architectural board of review will make sure that it falls in place. So for those reasons, I vote aye.
Frick.
I think these are highly unusual times. I think this, as I've said before, is a highly, highly unusual piece of property. I would vote aye because I believe that everything that we're talking about tonight is enhancing that which we've already approved. You know, there's no footprint change. I think there are enhancements to a very unique property during very unique times. I vote aye.
Holdren.
Yeah, I vote aye also. I think the big variances that were granted months ago were substantial. And this, like Rachel stated, this is just finishing the project. You know, I think our engineers and their engineers are looking at this to make sure it's done right. And that's why they're adding 3 support pillars and not just trying to cantilever and hope it holds. They're trying to do it the correct way. So yeah, so I vote aye, and yeah, I'm the last.
Okay.
4-1.
So the application has been approved. Council has 15 days to consider an appeal if 3 members of council so choose. Rob will be in touch. Rick Siegfried, you know the drill. So Rob will be in touch if there's no appeal made, and you can proceed. So 15 days from now, you should have clarity as to how this is all going. And we wish you nothing but the best of luck. So
Thank you very much. And Rachel, thank you for definitely handling a very complicated motion.
Yes, great job. Really. Thank you for all you do for the village.
Well,
Very
thank you. Thanks for your investment in the village as well, Rick.
Yeah, well, we're gonna keep going.
Yeah.
See us next month.
I don't know why.
Different project, though. Different project.
That's a different piece of land now. So
I'm an optimist. Thank you.
yeah, we'll just
Have a
stay
good
with
night.
this project for now.
I think Rick should be only allowed to like Rick should only be allowed like 4 or 5 PZAs a year. After that, we're like done with
He's
you.
cut off, right?
Okay, now I would suggest that we entertain the Soul Leather Lane project. It's only 10:17.
What?
Next time.
Soul Leather Lane, no?
No.
So who, hopefully everyone agreed with the decision to put that one off a couple
Yes.
weeks. As you see,
Yeah.
this was a busy
Yeah,
night.
that was a smart decision.
Is there anything else to come before the board?
Thank you very
tonight?
much.
Anything board members have?
Wait, I just want to let everyone know, I will be resending digital versions of the Soul Leather Lane application, a little more background and explanation of what's before you, and I'll be sending that out next week.
Okay, and
There
then
won't be any paper copies coming because you've already received the plans. There's no
Right.
changes over what you've already seen, but it'll just get a
Okay.
refresher electronically of what's going on.
great. And then Rob, you'll let us know if Bellevue is going to come before us on the 11th as well.
I will try to do that. We'll see if we can fit that in tomorrow. We have a
Yeah, if you can, that's great. And if not,
full
we'll-
agenda tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
It's Water
Thanks,
Street.
everybody.
not
We are
Bellevue.
adjourned.
Take care.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Good night.
Hey, Rob, it's Water Street, not Bellevue, correct?
What's that?
It's Waters, or Walnut Street, not Water.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Hey, Christy/Linda, thank you.
You're welcome. Always fun, always fun. Good board.
Right.
You guys work well together. It's guys and gals. Rachel, that was quite a motion. You did quite well.
I mean,
I was impressed.
on the paper, you guys. It made me
Well-
sound smart, but I was reading. Thank you to Rob for writing it.
Good
Most
job,
of our
Rob. Good job, Rob.
Rob. And then I was like, where's the trash issue? And then
Are
I
we-
realized that I
Are
had.
we off? Are we not recording anymore?
We are recording. I will stop recording.
We have to
But I
stop
do, I
talking then.
have
We
to keep
can't.
the stream.
Yeah,
I
we
have to
can't
keep the stream on
deliberate.
YouTube
Okay.
until I end the meeting.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
whoever's out there.
Oh, have a good night, you guys.
All right.
Have a good
Take
night,
care.
Nice work,
everybody.
people.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks.
everybody.
See ya.